Hello again. Well, I thought while I was on a roll I might as well keep going and do a third video about wildcarding. And my idea here is to look at the Reddit library and find the wildcard find and replaces in there. If you remember, we had the special characters that we used for various aspects of wildcarding, and the idea is to look in the Reddit library and find some examples of the sorts of things you can do with wildcards. And if you remember, every wildcard find and replace item has to have a tilde in front of it, so we can use that to find them in the library. So if I find a tilde, then I find the first wildcard find and replace there. As you can see, it's for finding that's a space, two or more spaces. So if I use instant find down, you can see it. So it finds a couple of spaces there and 3 spaces there. So it's saying find 2 or more spaces and replace them by a single space. Okay, let's see what else we can find. So if I use the ordinary instant find down to find the next tilde there, so that's similar. That's 2 carriage returns or 3 or more carriage returns, replacing those with 2, or 2 carriage returns, replacing it with 1. And this one's got a vertical bar in front, so that one is kind of blanked off, so that one doesn't happen. So if I wanted to use that one but not that one, I would, if this was my standard find and replace, you've got to watch to get rid of the space there, because the tilde must be the first character on the line. So here's another one, and that's saying look for a tab, look for 1 or more tabs that come before a carriage return. So let's try that. So if I look for that, do a instant wildcard find down, then there seems to be a tab on the end of that line. Let's have a look. Let's put there you are. So there's a tab before the carriage return. Let's find another one. If you've seen the second wildcard video, then you recognise that as the way of putting a non-breaking space into a British standard or international standard number. Now the next one here is number ranges, which is a fairly common requirement, and I've always in the past done it like this, saying a number, so that's one expression, and a number, that's another expression, with a hyphen in between, and then replace it with the first number and an n dash and the second number. The downside of that, if you do instant find down wild, is there's the sort of thing it finds, but it also finds this BS 423-7. So this previous one here, which was the one that was in the Reddit list before I added Reddit library rather, before I added this extra one, this one says a word beginning with. So it's numbers. It's a whole set of numbers in a word, and again a word ending in a word. So if we search for that whole thing there, instant find down wild, it finds those. It finds those as well. It finds that. It doesn't find the BS one, and it finds the next one. So that's a better way of doing it. So let's find a next one. This is a fairly straightforward one. This is where you're changing the A, D, B, C and CE into small caps, which is fine if they've got full points, but when they are just CE and so on without the full points, then the CE most likely, and perhaps the AD, might be parts of other words, and therefore we put the angle brackets round to say only where CE and so on, only where they occur as single words. else have we got? Okay, now this one is a complicated one because you can't just, in a find and replace, you can't just say CO2 and then replace it by CO subscript 2, because it's not the whole of the word that is to be made into subscript, it's only the 2. So you have to use a kind of devious way of doing it. You have to mark up the 2 by adding some kind of special code or something, and then afterwards change that into subscript. So let's try it just rather than talking about it. So if I copy that and bring in a blank file that I can paste it in. So we're looking for, in this first one, let's try the actual search. We're looking for S or C and then different O's and a 0, because sometimes people do use C02 instead of CO2. So instant find down, there aren't in there, but hopefully there will be in this file. So let's have a look. Yep, there we've got some there. Okay, so you've got 4 items there. There are the 3 are for the different chemicals, if you like, and then this last one is the one that does the subscripting. Let's try it first and then you can see what it does. So let's give them some colours so we can see it happening. Okay, so let's try that. So we're going to work on this file. There we go. Okay, so let's undo those and then we can get them going in order. Right, so if I redo the first one, then the first one adds the ZCZC in front of the 2 where it's found a match for that pattern there, that expression. Then the next one, if I redo the next one, that finds the NOx, and then the next one, if I redo the next one, that finds the H2O and adds the ZC. Now the last one then is looking for ZCZC, and then let's just make that a bit bigger so you can see it more easily, and let's get rid of the, there we go. So what's this saying? If you remember, the question mark was a single character, so that's saying ZCZC followed by a single character, any character, whether it's alpha, an alpha character, or whether it's a number, just a single character, and replace it with \1, and \1 is the thing, the expression in the parentheses, and so it replaces it with just the number or the letter and not those. So we get, when we do that, we get that. So it's replace the ZCs with these subscript letters and numbers. Okay, so let's get rid of this lot. Ready for another one if we need it. So we've done chemicals and things. What do we got next? So look for another tilde. Okay, now this one is needs expanding a little so we can see it. This is trying to add A's or B's or C's tags in front of index numbers within the different section headings of a document. So the pattern then is, so this expression is a number, this expression is a number, then this one is a tab or a space because it's possible that the person won't have specified. Let's find one so we can see what we're talking about. So if we select that and look for it using find down wild, and do the same in here. Here we are, we've got some here. So the person may have got tabs there, or they might have spaces in there. That one's got a space, not a tab. So this is catching the different possibilities that the author might have used. So it's the two numbers and a dash, or a space or a tab, and then it's going to add the A code or the B code. So it's 2 numbers, 3 numbers, 4 numbers. We don't need all of those, we only need those first 3. We haven't got any D headings in this. So actually let's move that out of the way, bring in a blank document and put those in there. Yeah, and we can try that, can't we? So if I'd run that Fredit script, there you go. So all 4 of those at the different levels have got the appropriate A, B or C, and they've got the tab there correctly. So move that out and move this back, and we'll see what else we can find. So let's go down again. Let's get rid of the visible formatting. What have we got here? Commas needing spaces. Yep, okay, so have we got any commas that are not spaced? So let's try to see whether we've got any commas that are not spaced. Look down, oh, there's one there. So in here, have we got commas that are not spaced? Yeah, I've got some in, oh yeah, here we go, there's one. That's one I prepared earlier. So there's one there. So let's try these. Let's try this one rather. Copy that and let's put it into this file. Get rid of those and put that one in instead. Let's run this Fredit script. Okay, so we've got our space added to a comma, so it was a comma followed by something which is not a space, and so, but down here we've got 10,000 has had a space added, so which we don't want. So the next one says, well, okay, we can avoid that by using this find and replace, which says find something which is a comma, then not a space and not a number. So if I undo that one, so if I try again with this, then it spaces out the comma there, but it leaves that one alone, so that's alright. What's next? This one is where you're changing from commas to full points in currencies from Europe and UK or America or Canada, I suppose. And you can't change a comma into a full stop because you need to do an alternative in between stage. So what I do is to change a number comma number into the number and some FS's, and then the same for the commas, full stops into commas, and then the CMMM things are then changed into a comma and so on. So that will switch those round. Won't bother demonstrating it. See if we can find any more. Oh yes, this is could be a useful one. So if you want to highlight diacritics, you can just put a whole list of them in there. And so this is saying a character that's in square brackets, a character that is any of these, and then replace it with itself, and that's a wildcard, so that will do those. This is a fun one. This, you can actually use this \1 as part of the find, which sounds really odd. So let's look at it bit by bit. What have you got there? You've got an expression in brackets, in parentheses. So what is it? It's, well, that's a set of letters, isn't it? A lowercase and uppercase, a number of those. So it's a set of those. So it's, in other words, it's a word, and it's to be followed by either a space or a full stop or a comma or some various bits of punctuation, sort of any number of those. That's what the at says. And then it's followed by \1. In other words, it's followed by this same thing, this same expression that you've just found. So the idea is to catch the. So the expression will catch the, and then that will say a space, and that will say the same word that you've just found, and this is just to replace it with itself, i.e. to highlight it, and so that will be highlighted in your text. So if we do it just as a wildcard find, so that's up to there. So if I do a wildcard find down, I've got ha there. No, that's all there is in that one. So if I do it here, so etc etc. What have we got there? Oh, down there, the ha um. I mean that isn't the sort of thing we want, but it's at least it's highlighted it, and we know that that was okay. So that was that. So anything more to do? Oh, this is just getting a little bit silly. You can actually do it twice. You can pick up a word and a space and another word, and then some punctuation, and then at the same word as you got the first time. I think I should have had the second word as well, but it doesn't. Anyway, so that's another one, unlikely to be of much practical use. This one is this was from an actual job. Somebody wanted 2 spaces after every punctuation mark, so that's what this one is trying to do. It's finding, so what's the expression here? It's any of full stop, exclamation mark, question mark, followed by a space, followed by, now that exclamation mark is the one for not, so it's a space followed by not a space. In other words, there isn't a second, there isn't a following space, there aren't 2 spaces, and to replace it with the expression, the first expression, and 2 spaces, and then the second expression, which was whatever it was that was, whatever that character was that was following. This one is just this caret 2 is a note number, so that if there's a footnote or an end note and there's a superscripted number, then the 2 will find it. So this was to add 2 spaces after the note marker. Okay, so we'll ignore those and see what else we've got. Yeah, I'm going to make this one my last one. This is just simply saying look for a full stop, look for, no, hang on, that's wrong, isn't it? That should be 3 or more, shouldn't it? Look for 3 or more full stops and replace it with a proper ellipsis. Okay, so that's it. There's quite a few ideas there, but if we're in the Fredit library and we've been looking at these find and replaces, and if I count how many of those tildes there are in the Fredit library, it says there are 1001. So in other words, we've only looked at a very small number of the wildcard find and replaces that there are in the Fredit library. So if you're looking for something to do a particular job with wildcard find and replace, then you may well find it in the Fredit library. And it just occurs to me that it might be worth trying to find elision, because that's one example where I didn't work this out. This was by Lotika Singer, and this is quite a complicated system, as you can see. I don't know how she worked it all out, but anyway, umpteen lines of code there to, as you can see, to change the elision of different numbers, and then a whole load more for if it's page numbers, and then a whole load more to unelide, so it's taking off the elision, going the opposite way. So somebody very clever has obviously worked that lot out. So I hope the Fredit library is useful, and you've learned a bit more about wildcarding. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.